All right, welcome back to another episode review of Josh Does Movies, where today I got to go to the Sonic 2 premiere a day early. That's right, I got a cool little fan screening, this afternoon in one of the 4DX theaters. They had a little poster, little like comic book type stuff, and I got a chance to go see Sonic 2 a little bit earlier this week than I usually would see a movie, just because there's a lot coming out this week that I want to see. So I got a head start, and I gotta say, this movie picks up just where the last one left off in terms of both story, but honestly overall quality as a whole. This movie, directed by Jeff Fowler, is your it's your kind of similar cookie cutter style family comedy movie per se. You have Ben Schwartz playing Sonic the Hedgehog again. As the voice actor, rounded out with Colleen O'Shaughnessy for Tails, and then Idris Elba coming in and playing Knuckles. Of course, we see Jim Carrey returning as Dr. Robotnik, Jim Marsden being kind of the father figure to Sonic, Tom Wachowski, his wife Tika Sumpter, and honestly, probably a show stealer in my opinion halfway through the movie, Natasha Rothwell, who plays um, Tom's sister-in-law, Maddie's sister, who's disapproving of Tom, as we knew from the first movie. Um, what we get out of Sonic 2 is a very condensed family film with some decent comedy, um, a subpar story plot in per se, and some really fun action scenes. Um, I'm not gonna lie and say this was the best thing I've seen recently or the best thing ever. But it was a very enjoyable type of movie. Definitely something where there was a lot of parents with kids. Kids had a blast. I myself, when it comes to Sonic, my grandma growing up had a Sega Genesis. So when I visited and stuff, I played the basic Sonic game, and I don't think I ever went through and beat the whole way through, but I played enough of it to know what exactly goes on in one of those games, get the gist of the whole thing, and I think the first movie did well, and I think this movie hammered home even better than the first movie was the Sonic the Hedgehog feel. They found a way in some parts of this movie to take real life, scenarios, and especially this one near the third act. I'd say this in the second act per se, near the end of it, um, right before you start in the climax. There's a section that multiple people go through that is literally a you know real life version of what a Sonic level would have been like when you're playing the game. References you make during the game, and did a very very good job of. Including the little theme tune that everybody recognizes per se, as we if you see it in the trailer as like a ringtone per se. Um, Very true to the game. I'm not too familiar with Knuckles as a character, but I know family members that have told me that he plays exactly what it is in this movie, which is he's this warrior type person that's very serious and straight to the point, almost to the point that he's playing a similar character that you might get with Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. But that's what his character is like in the Sonic universe, whether it be any of the games there are now, as well as potentially the TV shows and stuff. And so Idris Elba comes in and plays an excellent straight man to Jim Carrey's over the top comedic presence as Dr. Robotnik again. And in a way, I think allows this movie to succeed more than the first one did overall. Knuckles and Idris, came in and played an excellent part. You knew where it was going to go in the movie, especially with this being geared towards kids per se. You kind of understood what the story may go, and what I liked about the story is they kind of told you in the beginning, like it wasn't something that happened in the movie that you didn't know was gonna like you knew it was gonna happen, but they never really did anything to build up to it. Very early on with Knuckles, they have him saying some different lines and having a certain belief pattern that pays off in the end of the movie when things go a different way than maybe they were you'd advertise per se, but when we all knew it was gonna go. And I have to give the writers credit and that we didn't have this just character come in and and do the normal thing we see in all these movies. Um, you know, I don't want to, without spoiling anything. I think we all know what I'm talking about. But they plant the seeds for this something like that very early on, and it pays off throughout the movie per se. And I think that's very well done. Like I said before, the human plot point for most of the movie in the first half of the movie was Tom and Maddie going to Maddie's sister's Rachel's wedding. And we all know Rachel's disapproving of Tom in the first movie, and she does a great job playing up the whole, if you ruin this for me, I'm gonna get you and stuff like that. And there's something that happens during the wedding that just takes a 180 turn, and she Natasha Rothwell just hammers comedy out of the park. It's one thing to have Jim Carrey in a movie and have great laughs and have great comedic presence that way. But I think the middle part of this movie with her scene and what she's doing was some of the biggest laughs I've had in a movie theater in a long time. And that's even a little bit better, bigger laughs than some of the ones I got from Lost City, a movie I very much enjoyed. She was just great in that role. The things she had going on in that role, like they definitely did. One thing they did very well here is they accepted that blue hedgehog, green double-tailed fox, red echidna, warrior on screen and cartoony. This world is, and Jim Carrey himself, this world isn't a realistic world per se. So having some of the different things and having Rachel as a character played by Natasha Rothwell go off and have this really comedic presence was just so well done. And honestly, if they had a spin-off show or something where it's just her and her character, I love it. And I hope that like her small role here gets enough attention that she's somebody who I think could carry a comedy movie or carry be a part of a cast for a comedy, whether it be a TV show or movie going forward. Because I thought her comedic timings were on point, and she was probably for me the biggest surprise star of the movie. I expected the movie to be decent. I expected to enjoy myself. I wasn't expecting her to come in and give the absolute gold comedy performance in the middle. Now there were definitely some things about the movie, like a lot of pop culture references, probably for the kids per se, and things like that, that really weren't needed in this movie. I think it takes away from kind of the tone that you're kind of given throughout. Sonic becomes just as much as a Peter Parker, um, you know, just spouting out reference after reference in some ways, and even Jim Carrey's Robotnik does something, with references here and there that I'm just like, we don't really need that. There's a couple scenes in the movie that just didn't need to be in there at all. They're kind of they can be kind of fun, but like they were just basic, you know low hanging fruit style kid movie material. That honestly, I think if you're even for kids, I don't know how much they're gonna get out of that. If you take that out of the movie, I don't think that changes their overall enjoyment of this movie very much. Did the kids enjoy the scenes at the theater? Yes, it got some laughs. But if you took them out of the movie, I think it just makes the movie feel better overall all around. And I think the kids wouldn't even notice or think twice about it overall. Um, Now, when it comes to overall thoughts on who I might recommend this movie to, I think it's a good family film. If you have, if you're an adult who has some kids that are going to be in that age range of like 4 to 10, 12, I think they'll enjoy this movie. I think you going in there as an adult will enjoy it. Again, performances like Jim Carrey and Idris Elba carry up a lot of the movie in terms of passing it by maybe the adult eye if you want to see when it comes to these family movies. But again, Natasha Rothwell in the middle was hilarious with her role being the sister-in-law with the wedding and things don't go as planned and how she reacts to that. I think also carries it pretty much through that. I think if you like just decent little comedies, if you're not going with high expectations, I think you would enjoy Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I think if you like the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, you'd really enjoy this one too because I think it just builds upon that world and I think it is a better overall movie per se than the first one we got a couple years ago pre-pandemic. One of the last big movies would come out before COVID kind of hit. So as we're getting the box office back moving again pretty strong, it's fitting that Sonic 2 comes out. But that's kind of who I recommend it to. If you played the games, I think you're gonna love the movies. If you're somebody who's really into the Sonic universe, I think this movie is probably perfect for you. It seems to have done a very good job of that. But if you're looking for a super serious movie, if you're not looking for something that's lighthearted comedy in the theater, if this is something that you might wait for streaming for, understandable per se. But if you have time and you have a family going around and you have some people who might want to go and see it, I think it's something you would go with a group of friends, and I think you'd enjoy yourself at the movie, being around a group of people, in that type of way. And with that, we're gonna kind of go towards the next segment of my usual reviews, which is where does Sonic place in the top 10? And this was like really the first movie where I had to sit down and really think about where I want to put it. This is the 10th film that I'm reviewing this year that came out in 2022. So the list is officially going to be full finally with 10 movies. We're going to get movies kicked off as the weekend goes on here, as I get a couple more reviews out, at least two, maybe even three. Um, but I really had the struggle of like, where would I put this movie in terms of everything overall? I mean, obviously, Belle for me is still the top overall, and I think the Batman right below that. I think it's those two movies in terms of quality are well above the rest. But when I'm trying to like picture it, how does it compare to like The Lost City, Scream Five, and like Death in the Nile per se? Dog is another good movie in there. Where would I put this in my rankings of the top 10? I thought sat down. I thought for a good 10, 15 minutes, weighing the pros and cons, and I came up with the fifth spot. I have it ranked below The Lost City and Scream 5 because I felt those movies had a little bit shorter runtime. They felt like it was a more cohesive plot throughout, and I think they were just a little bit better made, in certain ways. Um, and then I put it above movies like Dog and Death in the Nile. I thought it was a perfectly decent family movie, really funny laughs. It's not something that's going to be awe-inspiring, the best thing in the world, but I would give it a good recommendation. Like I said, if you don't want to go and see it in theaters because you don't want to go see a comedy in theater, this is something that whenever it comes out on Paramount Plus in a couple months, I recommend putting it on. I think you'd have a good time with it with a family one night with some friends. There's worse things you can watch on there, and including with this list. After seeing Morbius last weekend, you had Moonfall, Uncharted. This was clearly taking that comedy type genre, a little bit action and style to a higher level than we've seen for a lot of this year so far. Um, but that's kind of my thoughts on Sonic. Let me know what you're thinking below. Are you going to go see this movie? Did you like the first movie? Are you a fan of the games? What type of movie recommendations do you have for me? Because speaking of that, and some of my other movies, I had some people comment to me that I should go see the horror movie X, and if it's still in theaters this weekend, I'm gonna make time to go out and do that. The other two movies I have coming up this weekend is gonna be Michael Bay's Ambulance, which I've heard a lot more positive things about than I ever thought I would, given to how boring and bland the trailers were for the movie that I saw probably about 25 to 30 times at this point, I feel. Um, and then we're gonna see everything everywhere all at once. Finally getting a wide release. That's great reviews overall with Michelle Yeoh as a lead. I'm looking really forward to that movie. That one I think I'm gonna go see on Friday or Saturday night. Tomorrow night or Friday, I'm probably gonna put out the. I'm gonna go and see Ambulance and put out a review for that. And then if I have time this weekend, if it's still in theaters, I'm gonna go check out X because some people gave me some positive recommendations, and I'll go check that out and give it a review there as well. But if you have any other things coming up that you're excited for, let me know in the comments. If there's anything that you or think I should go and check out that maybe I haven't put on the list, so far these are the 10 movies that I've reviewed so far this year. Um, so if there's anything I missed or anything you think I should put on, I should try and find my way to the theater. Let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an excellent day. Leave a like. Feel like you want to subscribe if you like this content. I'm doing this for fun. I like talking about movies, so after I see a movie, talking to a camera is pretty easy thing to do because not everybody likes to talk about movies overall as much depth as I like to talk about them. But I hope you enjoyed the review. Um, I hope you have a good week coming up here. Easter's coming up. I hope everybody has a good Easter. And until next time, enjoy yourself.